So we're here today to have a heart-to-heart talk. We aren't here for a lecture. We're not here for any rigid rules. We're here to get real. We're here to look at the landscape of our lives through the lens of truth. Capital T truth. Not the small t truth of our bank accounts or our mistakes, but the capital T truth of our divine nature. And sometimes you and I just feel like we're surviving the whirlwind. But my question to you is, what if the whirlwind is just a surface condition? What if beneath the chaos, like all of Will's music today, was to take us deep inside, where there's this steady, rhythmic pulse of love and wisdom and power and peace that has never left you. Today we're going to explore how to reclaim that pulse. We're going to walk through the 4 foundations of a life lived with spiritual wholeness. If we're going to get real about life, we have to go back to the very beginning. Now, that's not your human birthday. That's your spiritual origin. The foundational truth of our existence is this. You and I were each born pure, innocent, beautiful, and magnificent because we are an original expression of life itself. You know, in this world of form, we're often taught about original sin. Have any of you ever heard of original sin? Or the idea that we are broken and need to be fixed. But in the realm of divine mind, in God mind, we recognize original goodness. You are a local expression of the all good. You didn't arrive here to be saved. You arrived here to unfold, to open like a flower. In the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible, in Psalms 139:14, it says, I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Wonderful are your works that I know very well. Metaphysically, being wonderfully made means that you are a divine blueprint in expression. You're an idea in the mind of God that is out here expressing. You are perfect. You're made from the very substance of spirit. And when we say that God is love and God is peace and God is power and God is wisdom, it logically follows then that each one of us is part of that presence. Each one of us is love and wisdom and peace and power and knowledge. Imagine a grand old estate where there's been a painting tucked away in the attic for 100 years. And over the decades, it's been covered with soot from the furnace and grime of neglect. To the casual observer, it looks like a piece of junk, just a dark rectangular board. But then a master restorer arrives, and they don't look at the soot and say, this painting is a failure. They don't look at the grime and say, this painting needs to be punished. Instead, they see the brushstrokes underneath the surface, and with great patience and love, they begin to apply a gentle solvent. And as the soot dissolves and the grime disappears, a beautiful landscape emerges. Vibrant blues and brilliant, radiant golds. They were there the whole time. The soot and the grime never changed the truth of the painting. It only obscured it. Getting real about life means that you and I have to realize that we are a magnificent masterpiece. And the soot of our past, the grime of our mistakes, the cobwebs of what people have said about us have never changed our value. Your innocence is not something we've lost and you've lost. It's something you've simply forgotten. Our work isn't to create our worth. Our work is to realize it. So my question for you today is, if you stop trying to fix yourself and started restoring your view of yourself, restoring your view to that divine magnificence, what divine beauty would you see? And so if you and I are so magnificent, why is it that life feels like an uphill battle? Why do we feel exhausted, lonely, or not enough? You know, we have to be honest about this second point. We lose our footing along the way when we chase after that which we want instead of loving it into being. You know, we live in a culture of hustle and lack. We are told that if you don't have something, you must go out and hunt it down. We chase after the perfect job, the perfect partner, the perfect body, thinking that when we capture one of these things, we'll finally be happy. But there's a spiritual law at play here. Whatever you chase runs away. So if you don't remember anything about today at all, and I do have a handout that you can take home. If you don't think about anything else, remember that. Whatever you chase runs. And what happens when it runs? We scurry a little harder and a little faster. And what does it do? It runs a little harder and faster. When you chase something, your underlying consciousness is saying, I don't have it. We are vibrating at the frequency of lack. And because life is a mirror, it reflects that lack right back at us. I don't know how many of you have read any of the pioneering New Thought teacher Florence Scovel Shinn. That was the first book I ever read, The Game of Life and How to Play It. And I was like 16 or 17. And it was the perfect book. Because it was little. But it had a profound impact on me. And she said in there that no man is a success in business until he loves his business. For love is the only power that draws. So think about your relationship with the world as a giant mirror. Now, if you and I stand in front of a mirror and you want to see your reflection smile, you can reach out and you can kind of push up the corners of the mouth, but all you do is smudge the mirror and distort the view. You find it's impossible. And you'll get frustrated trying to do that. The harder you force the smile on the mirror, the more miserable you feel. But what happens when you smile? The reflection instantly smiles back without any effort. You didn't have to chase the smile. You became the smile. The reflection had no choice but to follow. Getting real about life means realizing that the world is your reflection. If you want more love, stop chasing people and be love. If you want more abundance, stop chasing money and be generosity. When you shift your internal vibration to the quality you desire, and when we do that, the outer world has to rearrange itself to match us. So the question is what are you trying to force in your life right now? And how could you simply shift to simply being the quality you're looking for? To get even more real, we have to talk about what happens when things go wrong. We often think that having a spiritual life means that we'll have a life without challenge. I think I kind of had that idea when I went to ministerial school, that I would graduate and all would be perfect. Well, let me tell you, it just changed the shape of the problems. Instead of, problems within the family, you then have politics in the congregation. But this third point on our journey is this. Spirit is not a shield that hides us from the world. It's the power that transforms how we see the world. In a chaotic world, our first instinct is often to resist, to complain, to hide. But what does resistance do? It creates more friction. When we look at a situation with the eyes of spirit, we see that chaos is often just change that we haven't quite understood yet. Think about a kaleidoscope. Can you think about a kaleidoscope? I used to love kaleidoscopes. And I'd like the little cardboard ones we get as kids. And every now and then I'll come across one in a store and I'll pick it up and take it home until it no longer works. Inside this kaleidoscope, there are little bits of colored glass and beads. And if you look at them while they're just sitting at the bottom, they look messy and disorganized. But when you hold the kaleidoscope up to the light and you turn it, those messy pieces fall into a stunning symmetrical pattern. The pieces didn't change. The chaos of the beads did not go away. What changed was the light passing through them and our perspective. So when your life feels like it's being shaken up, it's not because the universe is punishing you. It's because the kaleidoscope is turning to create a new, even more beautiful pattern. And our job is to stay in the light of truth so that we can see the beauty in the shift. Philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson said, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. When we bless the mess, we take away its power to hurt us. We realize that in the midst of a storm, that life within us is unshakable. Can you look at one chaotic place in your life today and say, Spirit, what new pattern is being formed here? And so we're going to talk about our ultimate goal. It's why do we pray? Why do we meditate? Why do we study these principles? It isn't just to get better stuff. Our greatest, deepest satisfaction in this life occurs when we are in conscious union with the invisible, the ineffable, the eternal life, Christ within, the Spirit of God. And you know, we've all experienced moments like this, or we probably wouldn't be here today. Maybe it was watching a sunset, or while holding a newborn baby, or a moment of deep stillness in prayer. It's in those moments that the small self, the part of us that worries about bills and reputations and problems, simply vanishes. We feel a sense of home. We feel a sense of expansiveness. One of the very best experiences I had in meditation was I came away with a sense that I was sitting on the front porch of the universe. The universe was there for me. That's what Charles Fillmore, our co-founder, meant when he spoke about the Christ consciousness. It's not about a person. It's about a state of consciousness where you realize that you are one with the source, that you're one with God, that you're sitting on the front porch of the universe, one with God. Imagine we had an old-fashioned radio sitting over there on the piano. You know, the truth is that this room is filled with music from dozens of different stations, maybe even hundreds. There's jazz, there's rock, there's news, there's classical, there's sports, there's country, there's pop. The music is there. It's vibrating in the very air we breathe. But we can't hear a single note. Why? Because the radio isn't tuned in. If the radio is not tuned to a station, if it's tuned to a static station, all we hear is noise. We might start to believe that the music doesn't exist. That's what happens when you and I get tuned into the static station of fear and worry. We get to the point where we might think that something better doesn't exist. But on the radio, the minute we reach out and turn that dial to the right frequency, the room fills with music. The radio doesn't create the music. It simply became a clear channel for the signal that was already there. Getting real about life means that you and I have to take the time to tune our heart. When we choose love, we're turning the dial. When we choose peace, we're turning the dial. When we choose spirit, we're turning the dial. We then can move out of the static of human chaos and into the music of a divine life. That click into alignment, that feeling of conscious union, is the only thing that will ever satisfy the human soul. It's the only thing that will ever satisfy you and me, is that moment when we are tuned in. And so I'd ask you, what station are you listening to right now? Is it playing the music of spirit or the static of the world? And you might ask, if this power is within me, why do I need to come to this community? Why do I need to come here to Unity of Merritt Island? What is this path? This is a school for the soul. It's a place where we remind each other of our original magnificence when the world tries to tell us we're small. Why have a center? church? Because consciousness is contagious. When we gather together, we create a collective lighthouse. It's much easier to stay tuned in to the divine signal when you are surrounded by others who are doing the same. We listened to the beautiful music that Will brought us this morning, and we tuned in together, and you could feel the consciousness shift. You could feel us all humming, vibrating to that music. This is a greenhouse for your spiritual growth. And people say, well, why should I be a member? You should be a member because when you take that step and say, I want to be a member, you're saying, I want to get real about my spiritual path. I want to make a conscious commitment to move from being a tourist to being a resident in the kingdom of heaven. It's about intertwining your roots with ours so that we can all stand taller. And why do we need this? Because we are living in a world that is hungry for truth. People are tired of being told they are broken. They are tired of the chase. We need a practical, supportive, and empowering way to live that actually works on a Tuesday afternoon when things get difficult. We need to remember that we are creators, not victims. So this week, as you head back into your week, I want you to remember who you are. You are a masterpiece. You are a gardener of your own life. You are the light in the window of the world. Don't be afraid of the chaos. It's just the kaleidoscope turning. Don't be exhausted by the chase. And remember, just smile at the mirror. My affirmation is, I am an original expression of life. I stop the chaos and return to the flow. I am one with the all good and all is well. I am an original expression of life. I stop the chase and return to the flow. I am one with all good and all is well. Let's do that in pieces. I am an original expression of life. I am an original expression of life. I stop the chase and return to the flow. I stop the chase and return to the flow. I am one with all good and all is well. I am one with all good and all is well. Remember, you are doing a beautiful job on this journey. Be gentle with yourself. Be kind to others. And keep the dial tuned to the music of spirit. And so it is. Thank you.